vinyl friends and vinyl community, it's Brian from Brian's Vinyl Records, and it is time for my October 2022 vinyl haul. I went overboard this month, a lot, but I'm very happy with what I picked up and very happy, excited to share with you what that is. I had a record fair at the beginning or kind of the middle of October, went up to Fargo, North Dakota. It's approximately about a 3.5 to 4 hour drive for me from where I live. And met up with my buddy Nate, and we did the Fargo Record Fair. This is my second year now going to the Fargo Record Fair. I think it's phenomenal. I really enjoy going up there. There's some really good vendors that have some really good stuff, and I picked up a few records there, so I'll show you some of those. Bunch of really good new releases and reissues this month. We'll start there. Got more Japanese pressings, and I picked up a couple or a few what I would consider grail records. So let's get into it. Let's start with some of the new reissues that came out this month of October, and we'll start here because this is local to me. Material issue Freak City Soundtrack. So why so important here? This was pressed by Backgroove Records. Backgroove Records was started by the owner of one of my local record shops, Mill City Sound. Rob started this. He really wanted to release some of those obscure albums that just weren't getting any attention, so he started his own label. He released their very first album first. That was the first release they did. This is their second release. This is the third album from the band. I didn't get the first issue. I just didn't get that, but I listened to this one and I really enjoyed it, so I decided to go ahead and pick it up. Material issue Freak City Soundtrack. It's really good. It sounds fantastic. Like I said, a local record company. They're basing their business in Florida, I believe, but it's run by the son of the record store owner. They work on it together. This next one was huge. This has been one of my white whales for a long time. It's one of those records that were almost, it seemed, unable to reach and find. You could get a Korean issue, I would say a little easier than anything else. But of course, they're all in Korea. The cost of shipping was always high, and the cost of the record itself was always high. Finally, a company has reissued this on vinyl. Music on Vinyl, the perfect company to reissue this, I think, and I'm super pumped about it. This is Warrants Dog Eat Dog album. This is a fantastic album. Came out in, I believe it was 93 or 94, and I mean, right at the start of grunge taking off, things weren't going well for, that genre of hard rock metal music, and it kind of got lost in the shuffle. I think another problem with this album is they released Machine Gun as the first single off the album, and I mean, to me, as a Warrant fan, that turned me off to this album for a long, long time because I didn't like that single. When I finally started listening to this album, I realized that the rest of the album just completely is awesome. It's a great album. And so I'm super pumped. Music on Vinyl released it on this nice yellow and black vinyl, and it sounds absolutely fantastic. So I'm so excited to finally have this album in my collection, and that is one of two white whales that I was able to check off the list. Super excited about that. Next up, I decided to pick up, it's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown, Vincent Guaraldi, of course. This was never really released until, I believe, 2018. Craft Recordings finally released the whole soundtrack to the TV show, and this is the reissue of that. I guess there were a few issues with the first issue. This one solves them. It sounds great, black wax, and I really enjoy it. I think this is an iconic soundtrack from when I was growing up. We always watched The Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown on TV around Halloween time. Next up, this is an album I was looking forward to coming out. A little on the spendy side, I'd say. Music on Vinyl seeming to go that way, but happy to have it nonetheless. This is New Radicals. This is the only release they did. It's called Maybe You've Been Brainwashed 2. Only record put out under the New Radicals title, and it's a good one. The big song on here is You Get What You Give. Everyone would know that song if they heard it. Get What You Give, just a great, great tune. Another couple songs on here were also got radio play, at least in my area growing up, so I knew them right away. And overall, this is a really good record. 2 LPs on this one, and they did a really, really good job with it. Super excited about that. Some Christmas reissues. This one I'm so excited got reissued because I've had it on my wish list forever. and for some reason the price of this thing just keeps going up, up, and up, and it's ridiculous. But they finally reissued it. This is Dolly Parton's Home for Christmas album. This, I believe, is her first Christmas album that she did. She also did one with Kenny Rogers. And, of course, her most recent one that she's released like 700 different ways now. Holly Dolly Christmas is also available. But I'm super excited to have this particular Christmas album from Dolly Parton in my collection. So, hey, it's Christmas season almost. Gonna start spinning these real soon. Another one I was pumped to see put out. This was by Urban Outfitters. This is Jessica Simpson's Rejoice, a Christmas album. This is a great album. The song on here, Little Drummer Boy, she does a duet with her sister Ashley, and it is just spectacular. I love it. Had this on CD since it came out originally, and was super excited when I saw Derek Please on Instagram post this record, and I said, whoa, that I didn't know was available. Went out to Urban Outfitters, it's still available. Picked it up, red vinyl. I can't wait to spin this one. It's always been one of my favorite Christmas albums to spin. And let's get into some new releases. We'll start with Christmas, since that's what we were doing. I picked up Debbie Gibson's brand new Christmas album, her first Christmas album, Winterlicious. I'm excited to get this one a spin. Comes with the 7-inch with 2 tracks on it. And this one in particular comes on a white vinyl. There's also one, I believe, that comes on a teal or blue vinyl, and then of course your traditional black. There are 3 different covers to this album. I ordered mine through Amazon, and this is the one that showed up. There's also the standard one, which you can look up, Winterlicious, and there's a standard cover, and there's another cover as well. So 3 covers and 3 colors. From everything I saw, that one was supposed to have the teal vinyl in it, but I got a white one, so I don't know. Can't find any real information on that. Another music on vinyls. This is an at the movies release, and I'm super excited about this. I saw that this was going to get released in an email for Music on Vinyl, and I messaged my local record store and asked them to pick me up a copy. They did, and I'm pumped about it. This is 80s Movies Collected. It's awesome. It's got all the great songs on here. You know, The Power of Love, Hazy Shade of Winter, Kokomo, Let's Hear It for the Boy, Say You, Say Me, Maniac, Never Ending Story, We Don't Need Another Hero, I mean, Danger Zone, La Bamba, Ghostbusters. It's got everything. Just, it's a 2-album set, just filled with great tracks on there. And I'm super excited to have picked it up. I highly recommend it. It sounds fantastic. It comes on 2 different colors of vinyl. We got one white, and the other one is your standard black vinyl. So a white and a black vinyl. And like I said, it sounds absolutely fantastic. Really pumped that they put that out. All right, I went up to Fargo, like I said, for a record store, record show. And I also stopped in at Orange Records and bought a couple things. The first is the soundtrack to the brand new version of Firestarter from Stephen King. And I haven't seen the new Firestarter. I'm not sure if I'll watch it or not. I'll probably eventually watch it. But the reason I picked this up is because it was done by John Carpenter, Cody Carpenter, and Danny Davies. Of course, they're Halloween fame, and they do phenomenal soundtracks together. So this is good. I listened to it. It's fantastic. It comes on this really cool yellow with kind of a gray splatter in there. Well done. Just a good soundtrack. Brand new album released from the Dead Daisies. Super good album. Really enjoyed it. Not as good, I don't think, as the previous one they did with Glenn Hughes is the vocalist and bassist on this one, taking over for John Corabi. Not as good as the first one they did with Glenn Hughes, but still really good album. Really enjoyed listening to this. Just fantastic. It's called Radiance. So super happy to have that. This one is pretty awesome. This one came out in September, but this was a UK only and European only release, and it's only on vinyl. It's C6 Steve, great blues musician, and it's called Only on Vinyl. You can only get this on vinyl. It comes from the UK. My local record store had ordered a bunch from the UK distributor that they have, and they finally came in and they saved me a copy. I'm super pumped. It's really good. Blue vinyl, C6 Steve. If you haven't heard C6 Steve, go check him out. Older guy, who plays some real interesting instruments that he created on his own, and just really good blues stuff. Next up, the new release from Orianthi. Now this is a fun one. It took me a while to get this one because for some reason a lot of the places didn't order the record. I know she's probably not as popular as most artists, but if you're going to order the CD, at least get 1 or 2 copies of the record, right? So I was super glad when my local down the valley went ahead and ordered a copy for me. This is a great album. Her last one was absolutely phenomenal. This one is really good as well. Super pumped. Orianthi. She has played guitar with Alice Cooper, and she would have been Michael Jackson's guitar player on the This Is It tour had he not passed away. So, just absolutely fantastic. This is one of them that I was super pumped about. Super excited to get. Got it on the day it came out. This is the new Skid Row. The gang's all here. A lot of people upset with the title because Sebastian Bach is not there, but guys, get over it. Sebastian Bach will never probably play with these guys again. It'll be a miracle, but nothing will amaze me if it happens. However, they picked up a gentleman named Eric, who comes from, I believe it is, I think it's Sweden. I can't recall off the top of my head now, but dude is absolutely insane vocally. Just, he can hit all the high parts. He sounds, just as good as Sebastian Bach in his day, and this sounds like a record that would have been made in the 90s with Bach. It is killer. It's fantastic. I highly recommend, if you like Skid Row, to go ahead and pick that up. Really cool variants. I picked the splatter vinyl variant. There's also, I think, a red, white, and blue variant, a black variant, and maybe a couple other different colors. But this one looked really killer, and so I decided to go ahead with the splatter vinyl, and it turned out absolutely awesome. Sounds great. Love it. Highly recommend Skid Row Gang's All Here. And, of course, last but not least, for the new releases, everyone's got this one, right? Taylor Swift Midnights. Big Taylor Swift fan. I've been a fan of hers since, gosh, probably the Fearless album came out. Someone turned me on to her, and as a songwriter, I really enjoyed listening to her stuff. And so I decided, I've been collecting her albums ever since, and I went with the jade green version of the album, which you can see here. I just like this cover the best of the 4 that she put out. I'm not going to collect all 4. That's not my thing. But I really do like this album. I think it's absolutely fantastic. All right, let's go ahead and get into some of the other items I picked up. Some repressed items from original, from MoFi. We'll start with Foreigner. This is Double Vision. Pick this one up. Sounds great. And of course, you can see on the sticker here, they tell you the system. This was analog masters right to analog. So this is a direct analog recording. And the next one I picked up was their first album, Foreigner. And you can see here, it says it went from the analog masters to the DSD to the analog cutting table. So they are now starting to put these on there. They're kind of lame right now, but I think that's because they had to quickly slap something together. I imagine they're going to come up with something a little fancier than that. And if they're smart, they'll put it on the jacket itself so that you know at all times. And if you lose the sticker, you'll know what you got. Either way, they sound great. Pick this one up. Willie Nelson, live from Austin, Texas at the Austin City Limits. Fantastic recording. This is from, I believe, a recording in concert in 1994, and this sounds great. I really enjoyed this. A lot of the hits from his older days, so perfect way to get those. Been getting into the Drive-By Truckers as of late, and this is their newest album. This is Welcome to Club 13. Really enjoyed this. They got some real cool special guests on here. Margot Price, Mike Mills, Shafter Liana, so really like this one. Good album. This one's just standard black vinyl. Drive-By Truckers, Southern Rockish. Picked up Phineas's new one, a pop record here. Phineas, of course, Billie Eilish's brother, writes most of her tracks, I believe. And he's a great musician in his own right and has a really good voice. Really enjoy listening to his stuff, so pick that up. Next up, a band that I only had one album of before this. Really like that album. never really bothered to dive into their catalog, but other people have been telling me I should, so here we go. I picked up Gaslight Anthem's American Slang album. Great album. Really enjoyed listening to this one as well. And, you know, only one I ever had from them was the 59 Sound. Buddy of mine turned me on to that, and I liked it a lot. So, good to have that. This is exciting for me. Picked up Margot Godot. This is an earlier album of hers that's hard to find on vinyl. I was able to get this and super pumped about it. I ordered it as third party off of Amazon. I believe this one came from Import CDs, if I'm not mistaken. That or Movie Mars, one of the two. But good price on it. Had to jump on it, and super pumped to have this Margot Godot. Also picked up in the same bunch from the same group. This is The Dead Daisies. This is the first album they did with John Corabi on vocals. It's Revolution is the title, and it was the only one I was missing from the John Corabi era of The Dead Daisies, and so I was super excited to see that they had this as well as the Margot Godot, so I bought them both together, and I'm proud to say I have them now in my collection. Here's one. Run Out Groove Real Gone Music did a big sale recently. It's like they call it their once a year sale, and they gave deep discounts on a lot of their titles. This is a title that came out on Record Store Day, and I just didn't buy it because I thought it was just too expensive, and I really only knew the one song off the album, so I didn't get it. And now here it is, pops up for 16 bucks on their sale, so I picked it up. This is Welcome Interstate Managers by Fountains of Wayne with the classic hit song Stacy's Mom on it. Super pumped to have it. Comes on red vinyl. Sounds spectacular. Real Gone did a great job, but super glad I got this. The album itself, listened to it for the first time as a whole, and really enjoyed it. So glad to have this in the collection now. Also from that same sale, I picked up the soundtrack to the movie Burlesque. Not a great movie if you ask me. I think the movie's really boring, but the soundtrack is really good, and you get Christina Aguilera sings almost every song on here. Cher does 2 songs on here, and so it's kind of fun to listen to that. But Burlesque, this one comes on a really cool pink vinyl. And lastly, from the same sale, I picked up CeeLo Green, The Lady Killer. Of course, the hit track on here, right there, Fuck You. Great tune. Used to play that in acoustic sets at bars when all the kids went home, and it was just us and the adults. We would break that out once in a while, and people really dug that. So happy to have this. It says it's on a pink vinyl, but that's not pink to me. That's like a really cool reddish orange color. Looks good though. All right, a couple used records I picked up recently. This one came to me free from a seller that I buy a bunch of my Japanese pressings off of. He had it there, and I was the only one who was interested in it, and so he just threw it in my box for me, which is really cool. This is a great Aerosmith album. It's the only Aerosmith album to not have Joe Perry on guitar. I believe at the time Brad Whitford was playing, but left mid-recording of this, so this has 2 other guitar players playing most of the album. It's a great album. I had a copy, but this one was in shrink with hype sticker. I had to upgrade mine, so super happy to have that, and you know, the price was perfect. Here's another one I picked up recently. This is M. Ward. This one is called A Wasteland Companion. Now, M. Ward I only really know as the him in She and Him. And so I've heard people say his music is absolutely fantastic, a kind of an Americana type beat or something like that. So I saw this used in a bin and decided to go ahead and pick it up and see what it was all about. Super glad I did. It's a great album, really enjoyed it, and I will definitely be trying to look for a little more M. Ward in my collection. Next up, I told you I went to Fargo for a record show while I was, I went to the Black Hills with my family for a vacation, and there was a record store approximately 2 miles from the place we were staying at. So I went there to check it out and picked up a few things. The first thing I grabbed was Kiss's Monster album. Not their best album by any means. It's their last studio album that they did. Of course, has Tommy Thayer on guitar instead of, you know, the classic lineup. But Tommy Thayer has been there for longer than any other Kiss guitarist in the history of the band, other than, of course, Paul Stanley. And so I really wanted to get this in my collection, but I could never find it anywhere. It's never in stock on anywhere I go. No stores seem to have it. They had one, so I decided to pick it up. Not a bad album. Songs on here are good. Production could use some work, but overall, not bad effort from Kiss. Next up, we have the soundtrack to Jurassic World, and this is the Fallen Kingdom soundtrack. So really, really good. Picked that up. Mondo did this reissue, I believe. Yeah, Mondo did this one, and yeah, just really, really well done. This was Michael Gasciano. He also did a Star Wars Rogue One, I believe. So, really good artist, really good composer. Next up, I found this there. This is one I just don't see anywhere. It's not an expensive record by any means and is available, but for some reason I can never find it. And so that's Bob Dylan's Time Out of Mind album. Pick this up from there. This one's real interesting. It comes with a 7-inch single, but in particular, this copy is a little flawed, as side 3 is missing its label. So I thought that was really interesting. Plays fine, no issues there. Doesn't cause any interruption with the anti-skate or any of that. So yeah, pretty cool. Happy to have that finally in my collection after looking. All right, let's talk about the record fair. Didn't grab a whole lot while I was there, but I did get one thing that I thought was really cool, something I never see available. Let's start though with some other stuff. I picked up this Led Zeppelin The Sound Remains the Same soundtrack. It's in great shape. You know, a little bit of ringworm here, but otherwise in really good shape. It's just something I've never actually heard before. I've never listened to this album. I've never seen the movie, but I know a lot of people talk about it and really enjoy it, so I picked it up. I listened to it the other day. It sounds really good. It's a nice live set from the band, and really enjoyed it. The other one I picked up was In Excess, Listen Like Thieves. This is one I just didn't have. In Excess is a band that I like and just never bought anything of. My son did a music class last year, and in that music class they listened to all sorts of different types of music, different eras of music, and when they got to the 80s, a few of the songs, or no, they got to the Australian region, In Excess was one of the bands on there, and he really, really liked them. So I decided to get a couple In Excess albums, and this is one I needed, so I picked that up at the record fair. Next up, and this is funny because I've been trying to find this one for a while, and it's never, ever in stock. And of course, I pick it up at a record show, and what happens? It's in stock everywhere now. But that's okay, I got it at regular price, and it was brand new, unopened, so super happy to have it. Slash with Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators live at the Roxy. I have the video, the DVD of this show, and it's fantastic. So super happy to have it on vinyl. And then lastly but not least, the last thing I picked up at the Fargo record show, this is the big one. This is the Smashing Pumpkins Oceana album. Very hard to find this album, super expensive when you do. I was able to negotiate with the person selling it, got it down to a price I was happy to pay, and walk out with this. This is a good album, a really good album. It doesn't get a lot of credit because this is kind of one of those albums that was made after the original band had kind of split. And so you got the guitar player who would go on to be their guitar player for a long time, Jeff Schroeder, on here. You got Nicole Florentino doing bass and Mike Byrne on drums. They went through a bunch of drummers during that period before finally settling on, I believe it was Jimmy Chamberlain, if I'm not mistaken. But either way, this is a great album and just super hard to find. And so I was happy to pick that up and add it to my collection. All right, let's get into some of those hard to find albums that I've wanted for a long time but never could find. We'll start with this one, Bryant Adams, Waking Up the Neighbors. This was huge in the 90s, in the early 90s. Everything I Do it for You, from Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, was a massive hit, and that caused this album to just skyrocket and go nuts when it came out. It's a fabulous, fabulous album. It sounds absolutely great. The other big song on here was Can't Stop This Thing We Started, and just an awesome album. And this is a European pressing, which I'm not sure if it has a US counterpart or not, but this sounds great. It's 2 albums, 2 records, and super pumped to finally have that in the collection. All right, another big one. This one I've been eyeing for a long time at my local record store down the valley. They've had it up on their Holy Moly wall for quite some time. They were doing a VIP sale, which meant that all people who are members of their VIP club would get 20% off. I was sitting there chatting with the 2 guys who basically run the place, and he was like, "Hey, take something off the Holy Moly wall." I'm like, "Well, the only thing up there that I would probably get is this particular album, because my family loves this band, or this guy, I should say, and that is Owl City's Ocean Eyes. This is a great album. It's got the mega hit Fireflies on there for Owl City, and I mean, it's an expensive one to find, and it costs a fortune. Go look it up on Discogs and see how much that costs. I pulled it out. They gave me 30% off just to take it off the shelves, and the price they had it for was way under what it was going on Discogs, so I was super excited to take that off their hands and bring it home. My kids, I have the one other album from him that I think it's called All Things Bright and Beautiful. I can't remember off the top of my head. Should write these things down, right? But anyway, this was great to add because we listen to in the car when we do our trips. We listen to a lot of songs over and over again, and his stuff comes up quite often as something that kids enjoy. All right. Before we get into Japanese presses, the last big grail that I picked up, oh man, this is a big one. Wanted this one for a long, long time, and super pumped to finally have it. This is a Grecian press, which is pretty cool. Ugly Kid Joe, America's Least Wanted. Big album for me when I was in middle, going into high school. Saw these guys open for Def Leppard on the Adrenalize tour. Was super excited to see this. Had it on CD, of course, forever. Still have it on CD, but really, really, really wanted to get this on vinyl, and it just never seemed to find it anywhere. And online, it gets pretty expensive. So someone I know gave me a huge discount on this album, and I was happy to pick it up. Grease press, sounds phenomenal, in excellent shape. I couldn't be more happy to finally have this in my collection. So Ugly Kid Joe, Everything About You, the big track off here, of course, their cover of why can't I think of these things when I need to? Their cover of Cats in the Cradle, phenomenal cover. Busy Bee is a great tune. Neighbor is a great tune. Just an awesome album. Super pumped to have it. So those are the grails that I picked up this month. Now on to the finale, the Japanese presses. I know this video is getting long, but bear with me. We'll start simple here. We'll go with a little Tiffany. I got this for dirt cheap. Couldn't pass it up, and yeah, sounds phenomenal. So happy to add Tiffany to the collection. Picked up another Van Halen. This is Women and Children First. Super excited to have this one. So another Van Halen Japanese press. Sounds great. Motley Crue's Theater of Pain. Picked this one up. Now, I have 3 copies of this one. I have the original US pressing here. Now the original Japanese pressing. You can see the difference in the colors too. It's kind of interesting. This is a little more pinkish color, and this one a little faded, more orange. But either way, and I also had the most recent Motley Records reissue. I listened to all 3 of them, and I can honestly say that these 2 sound very, very much the same. Not a whole lot of difference in them. I think a little bit of drum noise might be a little difference in the drums. Might be the only real difference you hear. A little crisper on some of the guitars, but overall they sound pretty close. So if you're on the fence about getting a Japanese press or an American press, save the money and get the American press, because they pretty much sound the same, and it's not worth the extra dollars that you're going to have to pay to get the Japanese press, I would say. That way, that said, I mean, I'm happy to have it in my collection. Yeah. All right, time for a little Kiss love fest here because I bought a lot of Kiss Japanese pressings. And we'll start with this one here, Love Gun by Kiss. The cool part about the first few albums of Kiss in Japan is they did them all as gatefolds. The US copies have never been a gatefold. They're always a single sleeve record. This one album, but in Japan, they put them out as gatefolds, and it's kind of cool. They got cool little, Kiss symbols in here and whatnot. And yeah, a kind of a unique thing to the Japanese pressings. Now this has an obi strip. There was a second obi strip that went along here. It was just a little tiny advertisement here. That usually is missing from these. People cut them off because they covered up part of Ace Frehley over here, and they didn't like that. So yeah, this one had one that was cut. But either way, still really cool to have that in the collection. Next up, I picked up Kiss's Creatures of the Night. Now I had a copy of this, but my cover was beat to crap, and the album was, just shy of VG+. This is a beautiful cover. And this came with some other things and extras, but I didn't get any extras. If I had the extras in, it would cost a lot more than I paid for this. So happy to have it. It sounds fantastic and looks really cool. Next up, Kiss's Animalize, of course. This is the album that features Heaven's on Fire on it. This is interesting because the obi strip is on the other side for this one. And that is because on this one, the obi strip isn't an obi strip per se. Instead, it's a sleeve. So the obi slip is also the insert, right? With the Japanese lyrics on it, the American lyrics on it. So a little different from the other Kiss releases in seeing it come that way. So pretty cool. And then it just, slides on like so over the back, and you got your obi strip like that. So yeah, Kiss Animalize, the only one I've seen so far of the Kiss albums to have it look like that. Pretty cool though. And then last but certainly not least from the Kiss side of things, I picked up Kiss's Asylum. This is my favorite Kiss album. I really like this. Bruce on guitar. Features the song Tears Are Falling on it. I love that song. Oh, All Night is on here. Any Way You Slice It, great song. Who Wants to Be Lonely, great song. Just a phenomenal album if you ask me, and my favorite Kiss. So I got this for a song. It doesn't have the iron-on that comes with it, but it does have the insert. So I was more than happy with that. Really, when I'm buying these, I'm not caring too much about the inserts or the extras. I really just like the obi strips. I think the obi strips are really cool. So got that for a really good price. Really good price. And close things out, last but not least, I picked up Huey Lewis and the News Sports. This was dirt cheap, and I love this album. I think it's probably Huey's best album in my opinion, and my favorite of his. And so when I saw it come up and the price that they wanted for it, I jumped at it because it was pretty good price, pretty cheap, and happy to have that in my collection. It sounds fantastic. Well, there you have it. Like I said, I bought a lot this month, a way lot, and I'm not ashamed about it. I thought I did really well. Got really cool grails. Went to a record fair, really enjoyed that. Visited some out-of-town shops, which was really fun for me. So shout out to Orange Records in Fargo, Vinyl Giant in Fargo, Black Hills Vinyl in Rapid City, South Dakota. Those are the 3 shops I visited on my vacations and really enjoyed that. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit a thumbs up. Leave a comment below. Tell me what you liked from this group and, your thoughts on my vinyl haul for October 2022. We'll be back at the beginning of December to look at what I got for November. Already got 4 things showed up already yesterday, so really pumped about that to show you. All Japanese pressings, by the way. And we'll see what comes out. I know there's a couple of new releases are coming out this Friday. I'm really looking forward to picking up, and I have a few other things on the watch list to see about picking those up as well. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, keep spinning, vinyl friends.